I dressed like an equestrian today because my dogs were out here steering cattle. Yeehaw! Welcome to the Elle Duncan Show. I'm just going to warn you. I know that you came here expecting for me to be petty, insufferable, braggadocious, bombastic.
And you are going to be all that's
100%.
Yes. Yeah.
We're going to get into all of that with our guy, Spencer Hall, and talk a little Formula One, which is why we're here. You can see it behind us. We're at the track here at COTA, the Circuit of the Americas. I don't know why I just went very Wisconsin with that.
Yeah, I liked it.
And of course, Gary Streisky not here, as mentioned earlier in the week when I was hanging out with Dallin Cuff. In for him, my girl, Christine Williamson.
Hi, it's me.
We love that for you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us while Gary is, I don't know, gallivanting through Austria.
Yeah, I love it for him. Also, I just want to talk about the fact that Miami also won this weekend.
Oh, well, okay.
Go Canes. Hello.
It's going to get about 10 seconds of the conversation. But I very quickly, you know, we're going to talk about the game itself. I'm definitely going to be annoying. However, I want to put you on the spotlight for a minute.
Okay.
Because one of the most popular trends on the internet is how it started versus how it's going. And how yesterday started, pregame, was Christine in her best cowboy-inspired gear. So cute, so trendy. Cowboy boots, cowboy hat, the whole outfit. It started out really well. How did the night end, Christine? What were you doing after the game when we were walking home from DKR?
Okay, so these are the things that I want to say. I had so many cute outfits for this weekend, and I was really excited about it. The end of the night ended with me having to take off my boots and put on Jess Sims's socks as I walk through the streets of Austin, Texas, because my feet, as I checked them when I got back to my hotel room, have blisters on the big toe and the little toe.
Yeah.
They were shoved into my boots.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize. I thought they were going to be more comfortable than the heels I was wearing.
Yeah.
But they weren't.
Yeah.
And now I'm wearing these sneakers because these are the only shoes that I can possibly wear.
Yeah, beat feet. If you saw Christine Williamson leaving the stadium, she was walking down
barefoot.
the street, down MLK.
In socks.
Barefoot in socks, and
Yeah.
it was gross.
It's fine.
But let's get to the gloating, shall we? And for that, and we want to remind you as well, that we are very clearly doing this entire show all in one day. We're just going to do various outfit changes throughout the show.
Yeah.
Hair changes too.
Not me.
Magically. Like right now when we're joined by Spencer Hall, still wearing the same outfit. Let me tell you right away the role that this fine man served for me last night as we're on the field for the Georgia-Texas game. And right away, Georgia, slow start, turnovers, and Spencer, my friend, you served as Prozac. Why were you so confident very early on in this game that Georgia had it?
Probably because y'all have like 30 guys who are all raised on like nothing but raw meat and pain. Just guys who were raised like throwing large bales of hay up staircases to their like meanest uncle. That's why. Also, Georgia started slow all season. You know this.
Yeah, I know. But I didn't think that a slow start in this environment against this Texas team would be advantageous in terms of winning the ball. A, because before last night, Spence, you know this, they couldn't get to the quarterback. Before last night, they couldn't force any turnovers. And so why do you think that Georgia looked so incredibly different, so much improved in those two metrics?
I think they looked that improved in these two metrics because, one, I don't think Texas had faced this. This is very much a fights make styles kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think Texas had faced the kind of pressure that they were going to face.
Yeah.
In addition to that, there's something to be said for motivation, right? Kirby Smart has been on this. No one believes in us.
Yeah, no
okay,
one
you
cares.
won 2 national titles, dude.
Right,
okay,
exactly.
You have all the money you need in the world to be successful, and you have a great booster core. Everything's in line for you. But they believe it. That's all you need to do. It doesn't have to be true. All you have to do is believe it. So I think motivation had part of that. I think not coming in against the #1 team certainly had that. How many times are they going to get an opportunity to do that in this era?
Yeah.
To come in as the underdog. They obviously relish that.
They really did.
Everything that I think about when it comes to this college football season is I just wish that the CFP looked like it did last season because I feel like the drama would be so much more.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, Spence, who the #1 team in the country is at this point, because we've seen so many teams that we thought were there take L's this season, and a lot of them come from the SEC. So who do you think is the best team in the country right now?
Well, there's two answers, right? There's the one where you go, well, legally, I have to say, because they are undefeated. Right?
Exactly.
You take an Oregon, right?
Yeah.
You take an undefeated team that has done everything they're supposed to do. That's not interesting, though. What you really want to know is okay, who on a neutral field, when we put them in the playoff, who's going to wreck shop?
Yeah.
It's very hard for me right now to not argue that I still don't want to see Georgia and Ohio State, right, as like 1A and 1B. I know they've both got a loss, but to me, hammers stay hammers. That's why I wasn't worried last night, because you go, this is a brutal team, and they really love the brutal aspect of like power forward football. So I still think those are the two teams with the most talent. I still think they're the best teams. Oregon has to be mentioned in there, but like, this is the wildest season we've had since 2007.
Yeah.
That's why I want the old CFP
I know.
so bad.
I know.
feel like the drama would be so much more, but now it's like you get 12 teams.
Yes.
And we can see all of these teams in the postseason. So.
Right. It would be a much harder decision if they had to sort of sift through all of
Yeah.
these, because let's be honest, none of us really trust Oregon ultimately in the long run. We don't.
I mean, yes and no. We don't trust them any more than we trust any other good team,
Sure.
right? They were a point away from losing.
Yeah.
That to me says could have been the other way,
Sure.
had, if, what, but.
Yeah.
Right? So the margins are real close.
Yeah.
So you mentioned talent, and there's a couple of big storylines from the game from Georgia, Texas that I have to get your thoughts on before we let you go, Spencer. One of those being, and we were on different sides of the coin on this, when you called it, you're like, I wonder how quickly before they go to Arch Manning, right?
Yep.
They've got that talent sitting on the bench. We know he served, amicably, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm so tired. I said amicably. He served well.
Just well.
God.
He played well.
He played real good.
He played good.
He done played good.
When
he was filling in. But the move to go to him in the second quarter, I thought was such a bad confidence breaker for Quinn Ewers, who already knows Arch is breathing down his neck. He didn't have a good start. He didn't have a good start last week against Oklahoma. I get it. Oklahoma is different from Georgia. You felt like it was the necessary move to try to get some kind of spark.
I also think Quinn took a hard shot.
Yeah.
The defense.
Yeah, he did.
And probably that may have been a delayed, like, okay, we got to get you out for a second, get you together, make sure you're good. It is, to me, always a little bit of a panicky move when you go to the freshmen in that environment, because I know they're at home. You're still playing Georgia.
Right.
They're still going to show you stuff you haven't seen before. They're going to show you a level of speed. They're going to get after you like very few other defenses can.
Yeah.
I understand wanting to do that, but why did they put Ewers back in? Like
Right.
either leave Arch in and let him ride the rest of the way, or don't take him out in the first place. To me, if you look around Austin, the jersey in the stands that you see most is not Quinn Ewers.
Yeah.
It is Arch Manning, a guy who is not really their starter yet.
Yeah. And I talked to a fan about that specifically, because I was like, how do you feel about Arch? And she was like, we love Arch and we love Quinn, but they both need to produce for us. But I do think it's very interesting, because when we saw Quinn against Oklahoma and we saw him yesterday, the biggest thing was like, okay, this quarterback at least knows how to play in a big game. But I feel like after he saw Arch go out there and do what he did, and I know that Sark wants to say, oh, they're both very supportive of one another, they're the #1 fans, et cetera, but I remember watching Quinn on the sideline when he first had that injury, and he looked sick because Arch was out there and he looked like he just knew exactly what he was doing. So I feel like Quinn went into the game last week and then this week and was like, I have to perform so I don't lose my job. And he had so much pressure on him to perform well. And I think that's why we've been seeing what we've seen out of him in the last 2 games, because he doesn't look like the Quinn Ewers that we saw last season or at the beginning of this season. And I feel like that's a whole part of this conversation.
Yeah, it's wild to me, too. One thing that you saw, just technically out of Quinn, throws a great deep ball. Deep ball is a big part of their offense. Georgia took that away for the most part.
Yeah.
They did not have the big play. They didn't even really take those shot plays, which makes me feel like you're smart. You saw that. Sarkisian undoubtedly said, okay, we got to play a little shorter. We got to bring everything in.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was because of the injury to Bond. They didn't feel like they had the guy who could stretch the field or not. But there was a dimension missing from this Texas team. I feel like I have incomplete information just based on what I saw. I don't think this is what Texas is capable of. If you want some good news for Longhorns fans, I think this was an aberration.
Yeah, okay. An outlier game, if you will.
Yeah.
You mentioned, Kirby, and after the game, Kirby took exception to something that we were on the field when they call this an interception, or they call this a pass interference. And then originally, after what was supposed to be a turnover, the water bottles are raining down. We're out here doing the Matrix because we're on the sideline. And in that time, they pick up the flag. Kirby was livid. It's rare, right, that you'll see a coach just flat out say, the refs tried to take it from us tonight, which is exactly what he said to Katie George. What do you make of how that sequence of events went down? Because I think we both agreed in the time spent, that's not a pass interference call. But there's bad calls all the time in college football. And Kirby's point was, you rewarded bad behavior by taking that 10-minute cleanup from the water bottles and revisiting that PI.
All right, side discussion. Rugby officials are always mic'd, and I love that because you can hear the back and forth. In football, we have this big presentation where an official has to come forward like it's a judicial ruling. We can't just be like dudes working it out. We can't just be like, hey, listen, I messed up. That's not a flag. It would be much easier if we had umpires mic'd all the time so we can hear that stuff. So when we went back and when Kirby claimed that there was some sort of grand conspiracy against Georgia, and boy, hasn't college football held them back and kept them from succeeding over the past 5 years.
Every time.
But we need that. We need better communication. I feel like a ref's going to screw up. And if they can fix things in real time, I'm fine with that. I think there's a problem because Texas fans happen to just like dump a dumpster full of garbage on the field at the same time. And it looked like those two things had something to do with each other. I assure you, I know officials. I talk to officials. You can throw whatever you want at them, okay? It does not hurt their feelings. It does not affect their decisions on the field, all right? This is not, by the way, I like the idea that, like, this Texas crowd was scared. Did anyone in that Texas crowd seem scared?
Not a single one.
They were loud.
Yeah.
No, just...
They were very loud, but they were all congenial and nice, and, like, ultimately would, like, wave at you if you waved.
Yeah.
I mean, between us SEC folk, if this were LSU, maybe I might buy that.
Right.
Okay? That can be a little, that can be a little intimidating.
Yes.
A little forceful.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
No, definitely not Texas. Spencer, thank you for joining us.
Yep.
Thanks for hanging with us on the sideline. And thank you for your calm. Until I could build up the confidence to bark in everybody's faces myself. Okay, so CW.
Hey.
When we talk about like how we've seen women's sports sort of explode, the one thing that we always talk about is, apart from the big name stars, is that every time we have this sort of platform or a ton of attention, the difference maybe in this year and in years past is that the games are so phenomenal. We saw that at the women's college basketball level, and we're seeing it now in the WNBA Finals, which has been like, if you have bad nerves, you can't watch this. It has been, and I'm not even just trying to be like super knee-jerk and reactionary here. I've done my due diligence and texted the OGs and asked them if I'm wrong here. This has been one of the most exciting WNBA finals that we've ever seen. Just because it's literally one of those series where you can't predict what the hell is going to happen.
Clutch time. That's the note. Clutch time has been, that's what makes this series so good, because all of the games, especially in the last 5 minutes, are within 5 points. And it makes you feel like you're going to throw up. You're on the edge of your seat. Last night, the other night when we were watching the game, we were literally screaming in a restaurant. Because it's
watching
so
on
good.
iPad.
And you mentioned the fact that women's basketball, women's sports as a whole has grown so much. I feel like people weren't talking about the Lynx as much as they should have been during the regular season. We knew that Fee was an absolute bucket. That's the reason why she was the runner-up for MVP. So we knew how good this team was, but I feel like the fact that they're able to get their flowers right now that they're in the finals and people are able to see what they're actually able to do, has been huge. And like you said, the most clutch finals ever.
You know why? Because shout out to Andrea Carter and Shanae Agumake. They gave us such a great comp a couple of weeks ago when you talk about Minnesota. They're like those San Antonio Spurs teams that had Tony Duncan on and Tony Parker and Manu on them. Like, they were so freaking good, but they did all the fundamental things. It's not the logo threes like Sabrina Ionescu. You know, it's not like these all these steals and blocks like we've seen from Stewie. It's just great fundamental basketball. They share the ball. Literally any given night, it can be someone. If I would have told you that Nafisa Collier was going to have 14 points and be largely ineffective offensively because her and Stewie keep canceling each other out, and they would still get that win, you would have told me I was crazy. But it's because they've got a Kayla McBride that can step up. They got a Courtney Williams that can step up. But to me, what's so cool about this series is, and why it's so hard to predict, is because every single game, like, there's been sort of a thorough, like a thread throughout all of it. Of course, those first 3 games, we had to see 15-plus point comebacks for the teams. Obviously, it worked for the Lynx in game 1. They tried to do it in game 2. It didn't. And then in that third game, it was the Liberty that had to overcome that 15-point deficit. We've seen it come down to incredibly clutch moments where people are being clutch, right? And nailing big shots like Courtney Williams in game 1 and Stewie ultimately not being able to deliver in game 1. And then we've seen her redemption where she had her 30-point game and had to. We've seen Sabrina Ionescu have her redemption from a poor shooting night by getting that logo 3 that ultimately gave them the win, and then have a tough night. Like, it's like every single night, it's just total and complete chaos.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Lynx too. You mentioned Courtney Williams. You mentioned Kayla McBride. They do it by committee. Bridget Carlton, there was a reason that she was going to be one of the most improved players of the year because the way that she's gotten in her bag this year, they win by committee. And you mentioned the things that we don't really talk about. Kayla McBride, after that loss against the Liberty, when she was like, I mean, she had a great shot, but I guarded her
well, and she
for
did
40 minutes.
And she did.
So it's like there's other things that we don't see on a stat sheet that these players are doing out there that have been so incredibly remarkable. And I feel like this is, 100% we can say that this is the best finals that we've ever seen.
Okay, this is going to end up being a little dated. This is going to come out, and then in a few hours from now, we're going to have Game 5 on Sunday at the Liberty. But I want to do a who should be feeling better. Do you feel better if you're the Liberty, knowing that it came down again to a pair of free throws at the very end of the game and you did not get great shooting from Sabrina Ionescu or from Brianna Stewart? Or do you feel better if you're the Lynx, knowing that, again, with all the momentum working against you, you were able to win at the Target Center and you didn't have a great night from Napheesa Collier, and you've learned to sort of do this thing by committee? Who do you think is going in with more juice into Game 5?
In Game 5, I would say... I would say the Lynx, because they were able to close out at the Target Center. Here's my thing about the Liberty, though, because there's no better scenario for them to go into Barclays and win a championship there, especially after what happened to them last season. So I feel like the Liberty probably feel good because they get to go home. They're comfy. That's exactly where they want to be. That's where they want to win a championship for New York. But I would say the Lynx should feel confident. I would say also, though, that the Lynx are probably like, oh, we're going to their house. You know what I mean?
You think so? I feel like the Lynx are probably feeling less pressure.
Really?
I do. Just because, again, like, you're talking about a Lynx team that, people weren't talking about. A Lynx team that is essentially an island of misfit toys, and we've talked about that. Apart from Napheesa Collier, they were all at some point out of the league or cut from respective teams. Looking at Courtney Williams and like how she's really found a home here. We've seen, Alana Smith talk about how she was going to go back to Australia and not play in the W anymore. She thought her opportunities were over. She's on this team. Bridget Carlton. When it comes to the Liberty, you've got a few things working against you. Yes, you're at home. You've got the pressure of being a super team that was literally constructed 2 years ago to do exactly this. You had the idea that you had 2 opportunities to win 1 game, to bring a basketball title back to New York for the first time since 1972. And you have those ghosts of Christmas past as well. All they've talked about after they beat the Aces was what it was like watching the Aces celebrate their championship on their home court. And now they are facing the potential of another team doing that to them after they had a lead. And I feel like the pressure is on the Liberty completely. You're going to have to see big performances from Sabrina Ionescu and Brianna Stewart, and we've seen them, their ability to take over a game. We are going to have to see that again. It's going to be a all hands-on-deck approach, I think, for both teams, but I do feel like the Liberty are facing more pressure here.
I was going to say, I think the question is who has the most pressure in this matchup, and I would agree with you. I feel like if the Liberty start this game off tight, it's going to be hard for them to get a hold of. Because the Lynx are going to feel so hot. They're on their home court, on the Liberty's home court. So I feel like they're just going to be rolling. If the Liberties start with their booties tight, it's going to be hard for them to get a grip.
100%.
I think that's the biggest thing.
If they smell blood in the water, Courtney Williams is going to be in her Birkin bag.
100%.
By the way, can y'all stop with her getting a bunch of trash because Target caught a stray? You guys are so ridiculous. She was doing a comp. I love a good Target bag, by the way.
Yeah,
but I'm basic. I'm not going to spend, and nor could I spend $15,000, $40,000 on a bag. Like, I'm Target girl all the way. You know, maybe DSW, just depending on who wants to sponsor the show.
DSW, Target, TJ Maxx,
whatever that is,
whoever you are.
Okay, we're joined by somebody who I feel like has so many people say this about her. I feel like over the years, Gabby Thomas is like my best friend that I've never met. Like, she gives great, like she just seems so.
Look how cute she is too.
That's exactly it's the whole vibe and energy, and I just feel like, Gabby, do people just feel very familiar with you? Like, do you give that that vibe
I hope
off?
so, and I do think so, but I think it's because my start in track and in sports, like I'm just so normal. Like I was never like this crazy standout. It's just like I go to meets, I show up and I run, and that's just like my vibe.
Why is that your hope? Because if that is, I mean, Elle's saying like you feel like people know you, like you're the best friend that you've never met. Why do you hope that people have that, get that vibe from you?
It's really important for me that people can see what we do and feel like they can do it too, and just feel like inspired by it, right? Because that's how I got my start. Like I looked up to people like Allison Felix and other athletes, and I felt like I could do it too, just based off of my interactions with them and how I saw them carry themselves. And so that's what I want to put out in the world too.
That relatability.
Yeah, it's so relatable. I mean, well, like as relatable as you can be to be like a 3-time gold Olympian and then also a dog.
But
like I just
truly though, if I can do it, literally anybody can do it. I always say that because I have accomplished things, but I am not that special. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
But what is the secret sauce to accomplishing not just one almost impossible feat to the everyman, but 2 of them, Gabby?
I mean, the secret sauce is literally years of consistency. That's all it is. Like this was my second Olympics, and this was one that made it happen, but I had to wait years to get another chance to get these gold medals. My first Olympics was bronze and silver.
Yeah.
And then the first time, I didn't even make the Olympic team. So it's just so many years of consistency and discipline and dedication.
Okay, so talk about what you've learned over the course of that journey, because as you mentioned, you've had a long one to get to where you currently are. So what was the biggest lesson that you've learned?
I think the biggest lesson I've learned is really being comfortable with failure. Like understanding that setback is a part of the journey, and it's a great part of the journey. It's so significant. And if you take failures and you let it, hold you back or really upset you, then I mean, you're just going to live with that failure. But for me, failure has always been a part of it. I welcome it. I accept it. I'm like, great, we learned from it. Let's keep going. And that's why I'm where I am.
Well, by the way, that was a whole message for Longhorn fans today after Georgia spanked him. I set you up, Gabby. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But here's the thing. Gabby is a Longhorn, but also an ATLian.
Yeah,
I am.
I'm an ATLian. And so what is that like for you? Obviously, you're a Longhorn and Hook'em and all of that. But you've got to have like a little love for the hometown team. How are you feeling today?
I know we touched on this yesterday a little bit when I did game day, but ATL is where it started. That's where I got my start. I started track down there and everything. That's how I got my love for sports. But, I'm a Longhorn now. Like, I graduated from UT. I've really grown into myself here in Austin. And I feel like the community has embraced me so much that I just have that loyalty. Like this atmosphere, this environment of where I am, like I love it. So look, Texas toughness, baby. We'll come back.
Okay, but I do want to mention you are in red and black today.
You know what? Don't you
got
do
me
that
there.
to her. Don't you do that to her.
Gagged.
The day after the L, she's like, and now.
It's just like a wink and a nod.
But she has her cowboy.
Yeah, we got the boots on.
So we know, because people always talk about like Texas barbecue and Austin and the food.
Yeah.
But I mean, ATL brings it a little bit. What is like your perfect Atlanta meal?
Perfect Atlanta meal? Gosh, I don't even know. Like Chick-fil-A?
There's nothing more Atlanta than Chick-fil-A.
I love that.
I would go like lemon pepper wings. Are we a lemon pepper wing girl?
Yes, we are absolutely. Yes, we are.
Yeah.
That's the perfect answer.
That makes
right?
sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Omar,
Yes.
her husband makes a mean lemon pepper.
That's why I married him. He's also from
You
Atlanta.
have?
Yeah.
Okay, I've done that too. I make in the air fryer. I make the best lemon pepper wings.
Got to get after them. Okay, so you recently we are also in the WNBA space, and I know, Gabby, because we have seen you. By the way, this whirlwind tour.
You've been on a tour.
You have been on a tear.
Yes.
And I know that that comes with the territory, and obviously it's a function of your incredible work and representation at the Olympics and everyone wanting to celebrate you. But girl, are you tired? Like, what do you miss about sort of being able to sit the hell down for a minute?
I miss that. Girl, I am so tired, but I'm trying to take in the moment and enjoy everything. And like you said, I've had the opportunity to go and even go to WNBA games and just support other athletes. Like, I'm in my off season, so this is my time. I can go see other things. Like, I can go to football games and tailgate.
Yeah.
I can go to the WNBA playoffs, and it's been so much fun because normally, like, my head down and I'm focused.
Right.
So I'm trying to take advantage of this as much as I can, but yeah, I need a break.
You can give Nicki Minaj your medal. I love that for you. I love that for her too. So obviously we were talking about just women's sports as a whole, right? It's grown and blown up so much, and you've gotten to support it. You talked about how Allison Felix was an inspiration for you. The representation is so important, and you talked about how you want to be relatable, but how big has it been to see women's sports explode over the last few years?
It's been been incredible. I mean, we've always known, right? Like, we've always known that we have an incredible product, that we are tenacious athletes, and the competition is incredible. But to see the world supporting and banding around us, it means a lot, and it's such a good moment. And I think that we're doing such an amazing job of capitalizing off of that. I mean, I even think women's track and field, we're about to get our moment too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, we've had an amazing Olympic showing.
Yeah.
And then with this new leagues coming out, just supporting women's track, like, I'm just really excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, I love that, because when I've had the opportunity to talk to some really, legacy track and field stars, that's one of the things that they always say is a mission of theirs, to make track and field a not once every 4 year sort of event, to make it something that is. And so what, in your opinion, as someone that's been in this space for a long time, is key to doing that, making sure that it's a 365 thing?
Well, exactly. The thing is, we do compete every year, so when we're not at the Olympics, we do have world championships every year. That people don't know that, though. But I think that's because they can't follow our journeys and they can't follow our competitions because we don't have a league like that where they can. We don't have a league where fans can watch and say, I know this athlete is going to show up and run this week and the next week and the next week. We kind of just run whenever we feel like it. And we're changing that. So there are leagues in coming in play next year, Athlos being one of them, another one called Grand Slam, where you can actually expect to see your favorite track athletes run, and they'll show up each week, and you know where to find them and how to watch them.
How does that change the way that you approach your training? Because if you're going to major events every 4 years, every so often, and now you're doing things more consistently, how does your life change?
Well, I think I will definitely have to plan accordingly. Like, I'll be competing more frequently.
Right.
Track and field is one of the, we have more training days than we have competition days. Track and field has so many training days where we're not actually going to races and competing.
Yeah.
And that's bizarre. I mean, you look at other sports like golf and tennis, they're always competing. And competing is a great part of training. I mean, if we're getting ready for world championships, if we're getting ready for the Olympics, the best way to get ready for that is by racing.
Yeah.
So we need opportunities to race. And so these leagues opening up and giving us an
love
opportunity
that.
is great.
It's been amazing. It's definitely not a wave. It's a complete momentum shift, and I think it's a tipping point many years from now that we'll look back on and see. I want to ask you one more thing so that you can go on and enjoy your F1 experience. Have you done F1 before?
I came in 2021.
Okay, all right.
So I love it.
Yeah, you were like on the original wave. By the way, all of the drivers that I've talked to have said that they love this particular circuit most because of all of the ones in America they felt most embraced by Austin, Texas when they first showed up, which I know, someone that's living here would love that. But I just spoke at a women's summit at the University of Texas, Gabby, and we talked a little bit about some of the challenge, specifically that women, self-doubt, small talk, suffer from imposter syndrome. And I just wonder if you have a word of advice for some of those very same, University of Texas students that I know will watch this podcast, just about how you navigate a space when you are a one woman and you're trying to empower yourself.
Absolutely. I've been in that situation so many times myself. And I would say if you feel like you have imposter syndrome and you feel like you were in a room where you were uncomfortable, you are in the right room and you are exactly where you are supposed to be because you are pushing yourself and you are just making room for something great to happen. I cannot count the number of times on a hand where I have felt that way.
Yeah.
But you always adapt to the environment that you were in and you will just become greater. So you were right where you're supposed to be.
Girl, I just got chills.
I'm like, I told you she was my best friend.
Yes.
I told you she was my bestie. Gabby,
we love you. We're obsessed.
We really do. We love you. We're obsessed with you. And just, yes, your talent and all those things, but the person that you are, it like comes through the screen.
Yeah.
Just the kindness that's in your eyes, and I'm flirting with her now. And just, you're a wonderful representation for our young daughters. I have young girls, and so thank you for all that you're doing and continue to do.
Thank
Go
you.
off, sis. Thank you so much.
Oh, this is
Thanks,
great.
Gabby.
Thanks,
Oh my God, you're amazing. I knew you would be.
Thanks, Gabby.
You're the best. A vibe check. Okay, you ready?
This is for you specifically.
Shaboozey, Shaboozey, Shaboozey roll call. My name is Elle.
Elle.
I like fast cars.
Okay.
Give me some time. I'll spit some bars.
Yeah.
Hey, Shaboozey, Shaboozey, Shaboozey roll call.
My name's Christine.
Yeah.
And I'm not mean.
Yeah.
But if you see me,
Yeah.
just know I'm clean.
Okay, that's important. Shaboozey, Shaboozey, Shaboozey roll call.
My name is Boozy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not losing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I'm at F1,
Okay.
and it's fun.
Hey!
Oh,
What's up?
What's
What's up?
yeah.
How you doing?
You just posed one of the greatest questions, and I would love for you to pose it again.
Oh, yeah, I said, ladies,
Uh-huh.
if a fella took you to the F1 date, F1 race as a first date,
Yeah.
where you ranking that amongst first dates?
Well, first of all, it depends on access.
That's what I was going to say.
Are we general admission?
We out here on the,
I'm not trying to be
we in the grass.
Put me over there. I'm mad the whole time.
I'm pissed. I'm pissed because I'm having to use porta potties. I'm sitting in a lawn chair.
My feet are dirty. It's dusty. We got dust all over us.
You got the boots and the hat on.
It
You got to
is.
get away. We in Austin. This ain't Monaco.
That's
it's
fair.
a different life.
But
It's a
then
different
there's
lifestyle
also
here.
a whole other world.
Yes. That's not this.
That is something.
You know, I will say, though, that it would be cool to go on a first date at a place like this because it's very loud and there's a lot going on. So if
Oh.
you find yourself
It's awkward.
unable to have a conversation with this person, you really have like a lot of off ramps.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
You can honestly just get lost, too. You just be like, I'm just going to the bathroom, never see him again.
I got to go.
You're out there with Lewis
Dip
Hamilton or
on
something.
him. Oh,
The other
man.
thing too, you can see the vibe, right? Like if he
100%.
takes you out into the dust, you know this might be the last time you ever see him.
What?
Into the dust.
Exactly.
But then for the guy, if he takes you into the dust, he can know. Listen, this isn't a match.
Yeah.
Once you're complaining the whole time about being in the
100%,
dust,
yeah.
in the dirt, yeah.
Yeah, you said access. That's funny, though, man.
100%.
I'm so intrigued. May I call you Boozy?
Yeah, that's what everyone calls
Thank
me.
you.
Yes.
Okay.
I like that.
I'm glad we got the formalities of Shaboozey out of the way. Boozy, I'm so intrigued because I know you're from like outside of DC, but in the Virginia area, do you find yourself more of a city guy or more of a country guy?
It kind of depends on the time of the month, honestly, seriously. I've been going to New York a lot. I love New York. I do like a lot of like stimulation and a lot of like things happening around me, so this is perfect for me.
Oh, yeah?
But you know, sometimes it changes, but I've also been in Montana recently and I love Montana.
Oh, Montana's a vibe. What part of
Love
Montana?
Dude ranching?
I was in Missoula.
Okay.
Missoula area. It's so beautiful. The trees. It almost feels like America's Italy. You know what I mean?
Ah.
Like if you want to come here and be like, what is America? Like the most beautiful part of America. You
I
gotta
like
go there.
that analogy. That's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
So me and Elle were talking a little bit before you got here because we were curious how you sounded. We didn't watch any of your interviews previously.
We just wanted to say.
Smart.
Yeah.
And we wanted to know if you had that, that country twang
Oh
that you
yeah.
sometimes sing with, you know what I mean? Or if it's just
It's just like
a
regular.
twang that you do
I feel
for your
like-
music specifically.
You feel like my music has a twang? I just
A
sing
little
it.
bit.
Yeah.
I feel like I just sing in my normal, like how I would sing
Do
on the
you?
song. It's very natural.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think Virginia has like a very like straight down the line sort of speaking voice. I mean, different parts are different.
Sure.
But I don't know if I have an accent. Do I got an accent?
A
No.
little bit.
A little bit.
I think in like real life you don't, but I'm also Southern, and I worked at getting rid of my accent. I had to take dialect classes, Boozy. I used to talk like this. I talk like these people out here in the
Oh,
general
my
admission. I
God.
did.
Where
I
you from?
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, but like the suburbs
Oh,
of
yeah.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
And yeah. Oh yeah. I used to I would say I was 4, but it was 2 syllables. House. It was pretty bad. So I love that like we've landed here. You
Yeah.
insert a little bit of that
Yeah, a
twang
little
in
twang.
your music, but in real life,
I'm just me.
you
I'm just
know
me.
what I mean?
I got no twang for real.
Yeah, you a DC guy.
That was a little twang.
That's how like they talk. That's how like we talk in
You get the
the
influence.
DMV, I guess. Where you from? though? I'm sorry. See, I'm about to turn this into a
I'm
whole
from
thing. I
Tampa,
love talking.
Florida.
Ooh, Tampa.
Yeah, so that we don't have any twang. We're just regular.
But it's also like it's a different type of South.
It's not the South.
What is it?
Is Florida the
Georgia one?
South?
No.
No. Florida's
No.
not the South. Depending on what type of,
Yeah.
if you're in the Panhandle, that's the South.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Florida, Tampa, South Florida, I went to University of Miami. That's not the South.
What is it?
That's different.
Is it-
That's it's the southern part of America, but it's not the South.
Oh.
Well, honestly, if we're being honest, the more accurate description of Florida is heaven's waiting room.
Florida man.
It's like kind of where you go when you're like on your last
Hate
leg.
Florida man.
So many Florida mans.
There's
my
normal
God.
there. Just-
Boozy, your music is so amazing because it's a lot of people try to describe themselves as sort of genre bending, but I'd love for you to describe what you think your music is.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's taking a lot of things that I find inspiring and interesting about America and putting them together. What I love about country, especially the word country, you got to think about it. It's like America.
Yeah.
I think it's American music. You know what I mean? North American music. So I love how I'm able to, not only is it just like the South parts, but hip hop is also a part of American music.
Yeah.
It's a part of like the culture as well. And country music is it's the same as well. And I tend to find that a lot of this music talks about the same similar themes. You know what I mean? It's a music for the majority. It's for the working man. It's for the person who's really trying to, make better of their lives. And I think hip hop and country music all talk about the same thing. So I look at it as one genre of music. You know what I mean? American music, honestly.
I find that
Western music.
I find that so interesting though, because when you think about the genres, they have the same origin, but they're so different. The audiences are so different, and you've been able to merge it. It's been a conversation even when you think about like what Beyonce was trying to do when she was trying to get into country music.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you fit into the genre that you're currently in?
I mean, for me, you know, I get the question a lot, but it's like I don't look at the division. I don't want there to be a divide. I want it to be people together listening to music and enjoying it together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I do so many shows, and like the first thing anybody notices about my shows is the diversity in the audience. Like it's kids, it's elderly, it's young people, it's women, it's men, it's black, it's Spanish, just everything are there. So I love seeing that. You know, people always talk to me about just how much they feel like I'm unifying people that wouldn't usually be together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's what it's always been about for me. You know, I think we gotta, you know, change the conversation up and just figure out how we can actually really make directions and steps towards like unifying people in a real way.
I love that.
I think you're right. I think music has always been the great equalizer. It was like if we have nothing else in common, we can relate with like a great song or a great hook, and like all of these people, similar really to sports.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I have almost nothing in common with other Georgia fans, but when we see each other instinctually, it's like go Dogs, you know, and it's just like our version, our own interpersonal communication. But you know, you've got Nigerian roots, and I'm just wondering, like, for your family, did they see you sort of going into this? Are we ever going to get like an Afro beats rap country merge?
Yeah, man. I mean, I can't speak too much, but there's a lot of that's in the works for sure. I got a session with one of the greatest Afrobeat artists of all time, you know, in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully we can get in there and make something that is my world, his world, and we just make something really new. Because I'm also like, I'm an artist. I'm an artist first of all. You know what I mean? I can write. You know, I think the same way. Like I think a Jelly Roll could probably write get on an Afrobeat record, and it wouldn't sound crazy. It'd probably sound great because he's an artist. He's a creative, and you know, I'm very proud of being someone like that. That's very versatile and can do a lot of different things. You know.
So then, what would you describe your music as?
I would say it's universal music for, you know, someone who's just trying to like define their American experience. You know what I mean? And their American journey. You know, which is just like what we talk about. It's just, you know, being from a family where my parents were always working. You know what I mean? And I felt like I needed to work, and I felt like a little trapped by just, you know, just seeing like my parents working so hard and sometimes not feeling like they're getting the return on what they're putting in. You know what I mean? Just trying to make it every day. You know, not all of us had the luxury of having parents that were maybe like super wealthy, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then also just being from Virginia, being from somewhere where it's like, you know, like this is all I've got is these trees, you know what I mean? And there's water, and there's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my friends and my family and this lady, the simple things. All I have is the simple things to hold on to. So, you know, growing up in Virginia, I wasn't really exposed to too much of like Los Angeles, Hollywood, or New York, or Atlanta, or all these places. It's like there was nothing really around where I was from, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would say it's really from that perspective, and I think my success came when I became honest with myself about, write about what you go through. You know what I mean? I know all these different genres of music influence you, and Nashville country and hip hop and all these things want to influence you, but write about you, bro. And then I think everybody kind of connected with that.
I think hindsight being 2020. Did you honestly believe though that Tipsy was going to do it? That would be this like record breaker. That it would be on the charts for half the damn year? Like, did you really see that #1? Like, did you really see that when you put the songs together?
You know what I said the other day in the interview? I was like, it was funny. I said, they asked me, like, did you know it was going to be a hit? I was like, well, to be honest, like, I think a lot of my songs are going to be hits, and a lot of them aren't. So it's like, it's just like, here we go again.
Yeah.
Like, let's try this one. Let's throw it. You know what I mean? It's like, we're like, you know, when you like, you're trying to make like a full court basketball shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you just, one of them's gonna go in if you keep shooting. You know what I mean? So that was kind of
but even with a shot, right? Like you'll talk to shooters.
This one's going in.
And and they'll feel like if their feet are good.
That's confidence.
Do you know though, like early on, like, ooh, I think this one's gonna be a thing. Can you tell?
You know, I mean, humbly speaking, I mean I think there was something about that when I had that idea kind of itching in my brain for weeks, and and I finally got in and I started the idea, and the producers in the room were like, oh yeah, this is crazy. And then we sent it to the managers, and the managers was like, this is crazy. There was a point where I was like, y'all think this is really, y'all think
I was
this
going to
is
ask if you were surprised.
I was like, for real?
Word?
Gasoline and groceries, y'all like that line? I was like, all right, cool. They're like, nah, this the one. I was like, okay, let's see what happens. So it's like, you know, as an artist, you wrestle with that. You might love something when you make it, and then 2 days later, you're like, nah, this isn't it. And then you kind of go back and forth. But at some point, you trust your team. You trust, you know, your label. You trust yourself. I mean, you trust everything. You trust how you felt in the moment when you made it. And we were having a good time when we made it.
I love that.
But Jaquan hitting me also gave it away. Jaquan hit me up. He was like, yo,
this is a banger.
He said it.
You're like, oh, snap, this might be the one.
I think that's what's been cool too. Is that like I was in radio when Tipsy came out, you know, and we would play it on hip hop radio in Atlanta, and just sort of it's a new take, but it's also allowing Jaquan to get a little bit of flowers from a song that he made a long time ago, and I thought that was super cool. But we're here for the Texas Takeover. You're a former football player. In fact, some people don't know that's actually how you got your name. What happened?
Man, just playing football and just, you know what I mean, just letting people play with my name, honestly. I was like, you know what? You know, whatever, man. I'm just trying to make the team.
How about they butcher
just trying to make the team, coach.
Yeah, just put me on. How about they butcher? Because everybody calls me Elle, even though it's Elle.
They butchered it bad. They butchered it a lot. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe in hindsight, it would have been nice to just stand up and be like, nah, this is how you say the name. But even I was kind of confused by the name growing up. You know, so I was like, you know what, maybe it is Shaboozey.
I'm different than
Also, real quick, I want to clear something up. Lewis Hamilton or Jeff Hamilton? I feel like that's two different sports.
I know, yes. Lewis Hamilton is F1.
Okay, thank you. Jeff Hamilton, NASCAR, right?
Yes.
Okay, or is it? I'm right.
Weren't you just down at the track taking pictures?
Yeah, I know. We're here. When bro
racers?
ran up on me, said I'm a fan. I was like, there's a lot of Hamiltons, man.
You're like,
why
there's
every
so
race
many
car?
Hamiltons.
A lot of Hamiltons going on. What's the other Hamilton?
a long
Hamilton,
lineage.
the play guy, the dude.
There's a Broadway musical called Hamilton.
Oh yeah, there's Hamilton
unrelated.
too.
I called him Jeff Hamilton earlier. I didn't want to be that guy. Not my boy Lewis.
You
man.
called
Shout
it
out
to his
Lewis.
face?
No, hell no.
You can say whatever you want. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, you
right
can cuss.
now.
Oh yeah, you can cuss. We're good.
This is crazy. This is going on TV.
Yeah, this is an Elle Duncan show.
Yeah.
Y'all should bring it the Elle Duncan Boozy show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I like that. I like the ring.
Can we get
Are you
exclusive
gonna be working
access?
at ESPN now?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be on ESPN a lot, so I would, you know what I mean? I'll take a salary.
Wait, are you a Commanders fan?
Man. Dang. I'm not going to speak on that.
Why?
But I heard they're doing all right
now.
this year.
They
They're doing
are
good.
really good.
Very good.
I got a couple different teams I kind of like float around with. Like, they're one of them because I'm just close
Why?
by.
What are the other ones?
Chicago. I like Chicago. I was a huge Devin Hester fan. Like,
Oh wow.
obsessed with Devin Hester.
Yeah.
Like, I just think like he just speaks to. He's honestly one of my biggest influences. Just like he came and changed the game. You know what I mean? Like as a punt returner, like. You know what I mean? It was just interesting to be like, I love people that break records and come into something and they just change the way, you know what I mean, the game is played.
Yeah.
So I just love Devin Hester.
Wait, I'm curious because we talked about obviously how football gave you your current name, but how good were you as a football player?
You got to ask my coach. Ask him. Ask him.
So humble.
Well, I would say this.
Shaboozey.
Look, everywhere I go, people be like, I'll be like, you know, I'm chilling with like, you know, like different athletes and stuff like that. And they're like, bro, like I'm just as tall as them. So
I saw
if I'm
a picture
here
of
doing
you with Jaylen
music,
Brown.
I probably
was
wasn't there.
This whole time I was like, yo, he's kind of tall because he was standing next to Jaylen Brown and they had like
Oh,
one
you
inch
seen that?
between you
Yeah,
guys.
Jaylen Brown. I was Jordan Clarkson, Jimmy. Even me and Jimmy is like, you know, like. But nah, I think I'm here because I wasn't.
Did you ever
too
play
great at that.
basketball?
I played basketball.
Okay.
I feel, like I said, I'm a little jealous. Like Jordan was telling me he started playing in 8th grade. I was like, dang, I played in 6th grade and I still was never no good. I'm gonna be honest, I was trash. But you know what I mean? Like, put me out there. I could probably do something now. You know what I mean?
You want to hoop? I mean, listen. Now you've worked your way into. You are 100% getting the call for the celebrity game.
Oh.
Yeah,
The
that's true.
Celebrity
That's
All-Star
true.
game,
Because
right?
how tall are you? Just for the
I'm
record.
like 6'4".
I'm saying there are
Okay.
literally people here right now that can make that happen.
Scouting me. Yeah, I
So
know.
we're putting you on the spot. So, you guys, Boozy said he's in for the All-Star game this
I'm
year,
in.
so sign him up. Hey, looks good to me.
That form was
Looks good
terrible.
to me.
That's a
Thank
good
y'all so much.
shot. That's a
That was
pretty good shot.
I could do that all day and it's gonna look great. It's gonna go in every time in the air.
100%. You just get the little gooseneck.
Oh, hit it again.
Yeah, I hit him with a chest pass.
Another one. I
It's
ain't
not great. Shaboozey, I just want to say thank you for coming. I got to be honest with you. We listened to Tipsy on the way here. We took it personally, and we tore up the paddock.
Yeah, we did a little bit.
We were like, we want to do some field research based on our guests. So thank you for joining
Thank you
us.
so much.
You're fine.
Congratulations on all your success. And let me
Thank you.
tell you, one of our coworkers is Chineye Agumake, noted Nigerian, and she wanted to pass the Nigerian love to you and say thank you for changing the game.
Yeah.
And then
Oh
just
my
to
God.
give you a Nigeria!
Nice job. Book Quinn.
I appreciate
Thank
you.
you guys
Thank you so
much.
much, Boozy.
Thank you. That was fun.
You know, this concludes our Texas takeover coverage, and I've just got to say, this has been one of the most rewarding trips to the good old heartland of America.
I mean, you feel
that
great.
I'm feeling 100. I landed on Thursday. I got to do a hot lap with Max Verstappen. The freaking Broncos beat the dog shit the Saints, which was really fun for me as well. Georgia beats down Texas on their own home field. Oh. And I got to meet all of these amazing
Beautiful people, yeah.
Shout out to everybody that made this amazing. And I just feel like, Christine, you included.
And you got to hang out with me.
Got to hang with you.
Yeah.
Our girl, Jess Sims.
Yeah.
But I think that I've been so inspired by Texas, I want to close out the show with a little Texas-inspired song. Can I
can't wait
sing
to
it?
hear
Can
it.
I indulge you?
Yes.
Okay, you ready?
Uh-huh.
In the style of Beyonce. This is Texas.
Hey.
But they can't hold them.
Ho.
Dogs from going down the field.
Hey.
So throw your hand up and get all gassed up. Bevo can't save you on the field. Quinn Ewers benched Archman and pour a few shots on your cowboy shoes. It's a big show party in the SEC. Kirby says you want tops. You got to go through me.
Our very own Beyonce. That was beautiful.
That's for you, Georgia. Stay classy, Texas. Thanks for having us. Legit, you guys have been really great.
Yeah.